Hi everybody, I'm Lonnie,
I'm Mark.
and we are Untitled Nerd Network, and this is this is what, the third or fourth video we've done,
Right.
but this is the first one with a name, and we have decided to call this comic book Malarkey.
Malarkey, because that's pretty much what it is, just us throwing
It
out a
is
bunch of malarkey.
just a bunch of nonsense and stuff, and but it's a kind of I'm really, this is a stretch, but it's kind of a play on Lonnie and Mark,
I like
Lonnie,
it though.
Malarkey.
I like it. It works.
I try.
It's better than Monty.
Or Lark.
Yeah, Lark. Lark though. Never mind. All right.
We're about to get off into some fandom I don't know. But we're going to talk about Death of X. A 4-issue miniseries came out late last year from Marvel. And it kind of, because, I read Infinity when it happened back in, oh God, this was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And Black Bolt caused the Terrigen mist to explode out, and there's
just
like clouds
roam
floating
the earth.
around. Yeah, so you got like big clouds floating through, and suddenly we realized that it's, while it creates new Inhumans, it's toxic to mutants, and that's kind of weird because if I'm not mistaken, other mutants have been exposed to it before, but nothing's happened.
So they actually cover that in the series.
Yeah.
There was a talk about, because Beast was really big into it. Beast and ISO, she's an Inhuman, and they were working together to find a cure for what they're calling Mpox. And apparently the version of the Terrigen mist that Black Bolt released in this had been altered slightly to make it more potent or something, to where it would hang around longer. Because, you're right, Quicksilver's been exposed to it numerous times because he's married to an Inhuman, or he was at one point in time married to an Inhuman.
At the same time, even if it wasn't altered, like, I think they said something about maybe it being in the atmosphere kind of caused it to be unstable or something. But even so, they quickly show that not everybody is affected. Some people die instantly, some people get a cough and heal up, other people don't, they can just walk around in it all day and nothing happens. Which is really convenient.
Right, yeah. You have all of the X-Men show up at Muir Island, and of them, only one of them contracts it and dies.
Yeah, which you don't find that out until
later on. So that's why I kind of phrased it that way.
But it killed off Multiple Man, which that was about the most
dead.
That was the weakest death I've ever seen him have.
Considering he's died how many times now?
2 or 3.
Because it's always like one of his duplicates have died, and
he died in X Factor number 71. I remember, because he got shot at the end.
Right.
And you thought he was dead, and then come to find out it was just one of his duplicates. Well, then he died in X Factor number 100, and come to find out, from what I understand, the original died. But he had an uninfected duplicate that lived on and took his memories.
Because of legacy virus and everything.
But it really messed him up. And then we've got just all kinds of, I don't know, but it's anyway. He's dead. Well, there was an army of him,
right,
running,
just laying on the body.
Yeah, and so they're everywhere.
Yeah.
It was kind of creepy, and it basically killed off everybody there.
Pretty much.
And but then the X-Men show up, and Cyclops starts coughing immediately. And it's him, Emma Frost, just the basic team of X-Men.
Magic was there.
Basically the group from Uncanny X-Men.
Pretty much.
They show up, and then you quickly realize, hey, this stuff's starting to kill people. And from there it turns into like a political game where they're just on the verge of killing each other, the Inhumans and X-Men, like the whole time. And God, I hate it because I've read Inhumans versus X-Men as well, and I don't want to screw up and think that I'm talking about Death of X, but I'm really talking about Inhumans versus X-Men.
Well, this is what led into Inhumans versus X-Men. I haven't been able to read all of I versus X yet, but I'm starting to. Like, I've read 0 and 1 so far.
It's good. In my personal opinion, issues number 1 and 4 of Death of X are great. The middle two, but yeah, this whole thing, in a nutshell, all this stuff builds and builds and builds, and finally, Black Bolt and Cyclops have a showdown.
I have issues with that, by the way, when we talk about it, because there's some things. So So the showdown that we have, since this is obviously going out well after the comic books come out, so spoiler warning if you haven't read it, but if you're a couple of years late, so the showdown between, so what you eventually find out is that Emma Frost has been projecting this image of Cyclops.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's like this illusion. Now,
you know how good you've got to be to do that.
So here's my question though. So apparently, well, she was being bolstered by the Cuckoos.
Yeah.
Like they were bolstering, but
always.
So the thing of it is though is that Emma's illusions are mental.
Yep.
Okay, which means that they're planted directly in the person's mind. Yep. How did they get video of it?
How'd they get video of what?
Of Cyclops. Because like going a little bit into I versus X, there's this thing where she's talking to no, actually it's when she was talking to Havoc at the end of Death of X-Men.
Okay.
She's talking to Havoc and she's like, you know, Cyclops is now an idea and ideas never die, and look, we have proof of it. And she holds up an iPad or something and there's an image of Black Bolt obliterating Cyclops. How do you get a video image of a mental illusion?
Maybe she's just that good.
Yeah, see, that's what I always love. Like, it's really weird. It's kind of like anytime they put Superman up against somebody magical, they forget that he's vulnerable to magic. You know, people forget that Emma's illusions are mental, not physical.
I mean, they are. Can she manifest something that can be detected by cameras?
The way it's always been written in, like, the official who's who of Marvel Comics and everything is that her illusions are mental. She plants them directly in your mind. Which means that there would be nothing for a camera to capture. Unless something's changed about her since she got her whole secondary I can turn into diamond mutation thing, which that irritates me. But I do love the fact that we have an evil Emma Frost back.
Kind of, sort of.
Well, if not evil, then just flat out insane. Or
well, there was a point. Now, I mean, this may have been a stage of early grief, but there were points throughout where she was talking to the image of Cyclops. Yeah,
she's lost it. But I mean, I thought it was a really good story arc.
Well, Black Bolt kills Cyclops. You know, Cyclops is like, "I've got this. We're gonna settle it now." You know, that didn't
Black
seem
Bolt
right.
just like.
And then at the end, it's revealed that right after the exposure, when he collapsed, like towards the issue of #1, you know, he died.
Right.
And told her to carry on, finish it.
And all through issues 2 through 4, it's just been Emma projecting an image of him.
Yeah, and to be honest, what happened, in my personal opinion, was what Cyclops would have wanted. I really think she carried on the path that he would have liked.
Well, I mean,
it may have been a little flawed, but
Scott's always been that one with the stick up his butt, and you know, but his whole thing would have. I don't know. I kind of think that if we go true to the original, the Cyclops character, like if we go back to the '90s Cyclops that we were talking about last time, you know, he would have been true to Xavier's dream of coexistence. So he would have tried to find some way of. I think he would have tried to find some way of coexisting even with the Inhumans, like trying to find a solution to the problem without going to war.
Nah, I don't know, man, because like I don't know if you know you said that you haven't read a whole lot since
pretty much the 90s.
Well, yeah, well, from whenever they had
I read a lot of the Utopia stuff.
Okay, whenever they had Avengers versus X-Men.
Oh, that was messed up.
From that point forward, Cyclops was revolutionary.
Right.
Really,
yeah.
I mean, he was ready to shoot first, ask questions later, and he fell in more along the lines of Magneto's deal. Right. It was like a mixture of Magneto and Professor X's ideologies.
Oh, so he became Onslaught Jr.
Kinda.
Okay.
Basically, yeah, pretty much.
Fair enough.
You know, without wanting to destroy the world, but he got to the point where he was willing to go in and fight, you know, humans and things like that.
And he was possessed by Apocalypse there for a while.
True. So that may be kind of a holdover. But, you know, we eventually find out that Cyclops has been dead the whole time. And I'm going to go ahead and say I don't know anything. You know, I don't have any hints or anything. But in my personal opinion, this Mpox or whatever it is, I think, you know, it takes regular humans, turns them into Inhumans.
If they have the Inhuman gene.
If they have the Inhuman gene. I personally think that while it may appear that these people are getting killed, these mutants are dying, that at some point we're going to see the return of Cyclops, we're going to see the return of Multiple Man. All these mutants that supposedly died, I think, are going to return bigger and badder than ever. They're going to be enhanced or something like that because this didn't really kill them, but you think it did.
Right. And while I was reading it, the whole time I was reading it, I was kind of like, I was waiting for them to explain that why it was only affecting certain ones of them.
Yeah.
And I came up with my own theory that, it was affecting the X gene in a certain way, but only people who have the X gene and the Inhuman gene at the same time.
Interesting.
Yeah, because it only affected certain ones of them, and that would make sense because, in theory, because of the Kree's experimentation, everyone has the potential to have the Inhuman gene. Yep. And so if you have the Inhuman gene and just happen to possess the X gene at the same time, perhaps the fog does really mess you up. But again, that doesn't... Well, no, because they've retconned Quicksilver to being an Inhuman. Because, like I said, because during M-Day, Quicksilver lost his powers. And he went and got Terrigen misted and became like this time-displacing speedster where all of his speed thing was based on time.
Kind of like the Flash. Kind of, sort of,
like
a little
the
bit.
Professor Zoom version of the Flash.
Yeah.
So, and then somehow he got his original powers back, and now they've retconned it that him and Wanda are Inhumans instead of mutants.
Yeah, and Magneto's not really their father.
But he's still Polaris' dad.
Yeah. We'll get into that later. Because I haven't really read all that. I read a little bit of House of M, but the Death of X. Your first initial reaction whenever I was like, "So what do you think?" You said you hated it. I want to know why.
Well, like I said, I'm so, as much as I am a Havoc fanboy, I've still always been a Cyclops fanboy too, and I just, from the point that it was Emma being Scott, which once you find out that that's what it was, it explains it. But I was just like, I just couldn't buy that this was how Scott would handle it. Like I said a minute ago, I'm on the different side of the fence of that with you. And I just couldn't buy it. But then when you find out that it was Emma acting as Scott, it made sense. Because it kind of gets to that Emma being the overprotective mother of the mutants, which is kind of sort of what she's had even all the way back to her Hellfire Club days when the Sentinels attacked and killed the Hellfire Club and she went psycho again.
See, weirdly enough, I've not read Inhumans vs. X-Men number 6 yet. I've read 1 through 5, but I've not read the end of it.
I've only read 0 and 1.
Now, at the same time, I think the fact that I've read Inhumans vs. X-Men for the most part made Death of X a little bit better. Okay. I read it before I read Death of X.
Ah, okay.
So
I may have to come back to you after I finish reading it then.
Yeah. So, I enjoyed Death of X. It was a pretty good story. I think at the same time, in the long history of X-Men, I don't think it'll have the same lasting ramifications as like House of M or, Fatal Attractions or something like that. But it was a good story for what it was.
For what it was a good story. Just like I said, I just couldn't buy some of the characterizations until at the end it was explained that, oh wait, that wasn't Scott, it was Emma acting as Scott.
It was literally a kickoff to Inhumans vs. X-Men.
Right. And it was a good story, and like I said, I developed my own theory on why it was affecting certain people. But I do like that they're making the Inhumans more prevalent in the Marvel Universe now, but of course that all has to do with the movie rights and everything too. Because Marvel doesn't own the movie rights to the X-Men, so they're trying to put more focus on the Inhumans, which is why we're getting an Inhumans TV series.
True, and I'm also happy, at the same time though, that now that we have coming up, or already released, Weapon X #1, X-Men Gold, X-Men Blue, a Jean Grey series, Iceman series, a new Cable series, all that stuff's being released, Generation X, that Marvel seems like they're finally giving X-Men their due after several years of putting them on the back burner for the Inhumans and the Avengers. So,
and I will agree with that, because I've picked up, I read X-Men Prime and X-Men Gold, and this is the first time that I've actually been like, hey, I may actually want to follow this series for a long time on the Marvel side of the fence. So I do agree that it looks like they're coming back to what we liked about it back in the 90s that made it so popular. I think they're coming full circle again.
For the same time, but before we wrap this video, I'll ask your opinion on this. Since the X-Men did kind of take the back seat for 2 or 3 years, was that by design as a middle finger to Fox, or do you think they had this plan where they were planning on kind of keeping them low to bring them back and have everybody excited about them again? Do you think the X-Men you think maybe the fan base was suffering from burnout?
I think it's probably a combination of those things. Because number one, I do agree that it may have been by design, but when you actually look at it, it was them, because like they pulled Fantastic Four completely to keep Sony from really having anything to do, because Sony only has the movie rights. They don't have any merchandising rights for Fantastic Four. Same thing with Fox. Fox has the movie rights, but they don't really have much of the merchandising rights. And if you look on the toy shelves these days, there's not much X-Men stuff. I think what they're doing is they're trying to, play a very, very complicated poker game with Fox to try to get those movie rights back. Because if they could get the movie rights to X-Men back, they could incorporate X-Men into the existing Marvel Cinematic Universe. Every fanboy on the face of the planet would just be like, oh.
You'd end up having like Shield or somebody being the ones that created the mutants. So you kind of like the Ultimate Universe did.
Right.
Where like mutants were just an experiment that got out of hand back in the 60s or something. I don't know. But this for the most part, this was a good series. So, final thoughts on X-Men? Death of X?
Death of X, again, I liked it. If I had to give it like a 3 out, like a 5-star thing, I have to give it a 3. It was a good, solid story.
Okay.
But just like I said, some of the characterization left me going, that's not who it is. But then it was revealed who it was, so I was like, I guess it.
All right. Well, that's it on Death of X. Death of X review. I'm Lonnie.
This is Mark.
And this has been Comic Book Malarkey. We are Untitled Nerd Network, brought to you by Infinity Flux.
Right here in Hickson, Tennessee.
Yes, we are on location.
That Mick Foley pop thing doesn't work when you don't have a live audience.
Pretty much.
Oh well.